What's up, people? Gerry here. What are we doing and what are we talking about today? Just figured I wanted to just sit down and chat with you guys a little bit, just talk about my channel, a little bit the direction that I want to take the channel. You know, I think that I've been juggling, trying to make YouTube work, trying to navigate the YouTube, terrain, the algorithm, and I think that I've started to realize that I'm sort of losing my initial, purpose. Why am I doing YouTube? And I think that lately, over probably the past year, I think, it's maybe more. I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on. Everyone has things going on in their life, and you're trying to juggle hobbies, family life, everything. And, you do what you have to do to find the balance, right? And I've been juggling with that, like anybody, right? Who's doing a YouTube channel. But also at the same time, I think that, I think I've sort of lost why I'm a YouTuber. I think I started to lean more towards, sort of listening to what everyone else is saying. This is how you do things. This is what you have to do. You have to do the following, things to make YouTube work. And, I sort of felt that by having fallen into that path that I've lost who I am, and why I'm doing YouTube. And, because I've started to feel that it's going down a path where, I'm not, it's not where I want to go, and I think that I have to remember who I was, and why when I started doing YouTube, just because I was so, passionate and excited, at sharing this content or something that I had figured out or that I had discovered. And, it's like, oh my God, this is so awesome. I wanted to share that, and I would get excited, and had all this deep passion, for what it was that I was working on, and lately I've found that I've started to drift away from that, because it's like I was trying to follow this structure, this grid, this layout of how you have to do YouTube, and it was being dictated to me by all these rules. And it's like, I'm losing who I am, and why I'm here and why I'm making content, and so I'm really feeling that I'm gonna just start being me again, and just posting what I get really enthusiastic about, and hopefully you guys find the same thing. Hopefully you guys are on board with what it is that I'm sharing, but I also have to remember and realize that if it's not, that's okay too. It's, YouTube is just so incredible at how, there's so many niches, and you can find your niche, and you can find what it is that you're passionate about. You just have to go and search it, and it's there, and, I think it took me a little while to sort of remember that, and to not get lost in, following the rules, and, this is how you have to do things. And if you don't do this, you're not going to succeed. And it's like, well, what's succeeding? What is it that I define as success? And I feel that I have to be me, and I don't want to lose that. And that, that creativity and, desire for sharing cool things that I'm so passionate about. And I know that you guys that like the content that I'm doing, regardless of what it is, if you like it, you're going to find it. You're going to come and find it, and it's going to be right here on my channel, and you're going to be like, oh my God, this is amazing. And I think that that's what's so awesome about YouTube. And I've sort of forgotten that, And so, yeah, so I want to go back to that when I first started doing YouTube, and I would get so excited at sharing something, because it was just, it was like a new discovery or something, like, oh my God, this is so friggin' sick. You know, I got to share this, and I remember getting just so excited at, putting something together, building it, creating it, programming it, setting it up, wiring it together, and then sharing that with everybody, and just being so pumped to share that enthusiasm. But lately, when I would do that, I'd be like, "Oh, that'd be so cool," but I can't do that. I can't do that because it doesn't follow the do's and don'ts of YouTube. If I veer off of, you know, my target little niche, if I even deviate from that just a little bit of who I am, you can't. You're not supposed to do that. You're not allowed to do that. Well, I'm it's like it's not me, and so yeah. So anyway, that's what I'm here to just. I wanted to just let you guys know that I'm sort of done with that, and I'm just going to be me, and I'm going to share what I find cool and what I think is awesome, you know. And again, if it's not, it doesn't fall into what you think is super amazing and cool. Well, that's okay. That's not. It's all good. YouTube is so broad, and there's so many different things that you can find on YouTube, and you just have to search it. Looking back, remembering, when I was a kid, when I was, because I was that kid who took everything apart, tried to figure out how things worked, was just super curious about anything that had wires or, any kind of electronics, if it had LEDs on it or if there were wires connected to it, you know, I would just get fascinated by it, and I would get so excited when I would discover something, and I remember just the end, that feeling of, just so curious, and I was just like, oh my gosh, and this like epiphany, where I'd figure something out, or I would, learn something new. It just gets so excited, and that still happens, when I'm working on stuff, and that it's like that passion, right? It's just a deep, deep passion for all the stuff that I work with tech, electronics, robotics, you know, CPLDs, embedded systems, all this programming, learning it all, and that stems from, back when I was just a little kid taking stuff apart, you know, and that's who I am, and that's that passion. And that was also a huge part of my teens, was I got into, video, and I loved movies, and the idea of like filming and, making a movie. That was just, that was so fun, you know, and, I would make movies with my siblings, we'd go out and film stuff, and I was always editing, and all through my teens, I was just constantly filming and editing. And so, I was doing that, and I was always sort of teetering on a dime of whether to go into film or do my passion of electronics, and all that. And I went to the electronic side because that was where my real deep passion was. Film and video, that was still there, but my real passion was the electronics and, robotics as well. And then when YouTube came into the picture, all of a sudden it was like, whoa, this is awesome. It was another part of the internet where I could do my electronics, my deep passion, but then my second passion of video and editing, I could incorporate that into it as well. It was just like, whoa, this is like so perfect, you know? And so, it was like, and that was why I got into doing YouTube. It was like, because I had all these passions that I wanted to share. And just lately, that's sort of, I've felt that, by navigating this structure of what, these rules that you have to follow to be successful on YouTube, if you don't do that, you're not, it's not going to work. You're going to fail. But, I found that by doing that, by trying to follow that that layout, that structure, well, you have to do this, you have to do that, you got to follow the rules. That was just taking away from, you know, who I was and why I got into doing YouTube. And so that's just sort of a, you know, it's just, literally, it's just sort of the, you know, I past few days where I'm like, I'm done with that. I'm just going to be me. I'm gonna make content the way I want to do it. If it doesn't fit into the structure of how you're supposed to do things, well, it's you know, that's okay. You know, I'm okay with that, and I'm just going to be me. And I know that those of you that are you know, passionate in the same way, you're going to find my channel. You're going to find it, and that's what's so awesome about YouTube. It's just there's just every niche is there to, you know, for everyone to discover, you know. And as creators, you know, if you can just create it, it's there. You just go in, set up your channel, boom, that's it. You know, there's that niche, which is you, the creator, you know. and and it's awesome. And I'm excited after just sort of coming to that realization of where I want to take the channel. And so anyway, I wanted to just come and share that with you guys and let you know that it's going to be me. I'm just going to be me, and that's what my channel is going to become. And it might, if it succeeds, great. If it doesn't, I'm okay with that. And it's just it's what I got to do, because I can't go this way that, you know, I've been going. It's sort of, yeah, it's led in a different path, and I'm not going there. I've got a path, and I know where it is. I know which way it's going. That's the destination, is to go where my passions are. And it's exciting just thinking about that. So anyway, thanks for listening. We'll see you guys in the next video. Take it easy. Ciao.